So today we're going to be taking a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. In the last episode we saw the end of the Dark Sardinia Civil War. We also had an explosion in a chemical power plant in China which caused a lot of radiation to start around this coast here. And there was a lot more events which I can't really remember. And well, I think we should just stop wasting time and let's just get straight into it, shall we? Anyway, we're going to start this episode over here in Sardinia. As taking a look at Sicily, they are, at the current minute, they are obviously a communist nation, and they are looking for ways to expand, and they don't really know how, because they can't really go after Albania, they can't go after northern Italy, and Tunisia has pretty much already been colonized, not colonized, but they've already been, they're in the alliance, so they can't really do that. So they only really have one option, and that is going to be Sardinia. Sardinia was created after World War II, I believe, and they just haven't done anything, so they're going to do something now. And this is obviously going to start to get really bad once Sicilian ships start to arrive at the coastline of Sardinia, and eventually the official invasion has arrived. As the forces of Sicily will basically be able to take over half of Sardinia within about a few weeks. But this is when the Diamond Alliance will officially draw the line, as you know, the Sicilians are going to take pretty much most of Sardinia. But then these diamonds, which actually should probably be pulling up the alliance layer, will say we've had enough and we're going to officially start supporting Sardinia. Because they can't just lose democratic nations like that. I don't even know what Sardinia is ideology wise. Yeah, they are a democracy, but I mean Sicily's already taken over Malta, and there's many other things that communists have done in general, like also the Purple Country a few episodes ago. So they're going to officially start supporting the Sardinian. And in the last few episodes they did try and support Carthage from falling, but Morocco is obviously one of the strongest countries in the world, and Sicily isn't, so this is going to allow these guys to do a lot better in this war, and they'll push Sicily basically up to just the north area. And you can say this is our first proxy war since the Cold War, because in the Cold War there was a lot of proxy wars down here, obviously mostly in Africa, but there's some over in Asia, and also the Americas were a big hotspot for them as well. But well, there haven't really been many since then, and this isn't a proxy war, this is just simply a war. That makes no sense. But the Sardinians will be able to push up here and completely cut off the Sicilian troops, and into three actually, so wow. And Sicily is completely pushed off of the island, and yeah, just like that. Yeah. But unfortunately for the Sardinians, the second wave of Sicilian troops are coming. They're not just going to stop here. And this time they've got a lot more troops. They've got probably about 1 million troops coming from all of the different North African countries like Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, obviously Morocco as well. And they've probably got some of the Anatolian countries to help them. So when the second force arrives, it's a lot more hard to fight back against. And yeah. And it looks like Sardinia is completely finished until the Canadian Union will start sending troops over as well. And, well, you know what's going to happen. Fighting once again. The Canadian Union even brings a bigger force than like 1 million. They bring 1.5 million, so it's a bit bigger. I mean, even now the Italians sort of using some troops to make a landing in this northern area. Now, obviously, this could start a war because parallelograms and, you know, two countries that are in different alliances are going against each other, which is not good. But Egypt doesn't really want war at the minute because they're going through something which I'll explain later in this episode. But Sardinia is cut in half, this area will officially fall, and finally this little strip will just completely be kicked off, and the Sicilians are going to have enough, and they're going to say, right, okay, you guys win, we're not bothered. Now realistically, would they do this? Probably not, but they lost a lot of their army in this war. They lost half their army just trying to get, and a lot of them, there's actually a big naval disaster right here when they were kind of trying to come back from Sardinia, which caused about 5% of the army to die. It was quite bad. But they're officially going to have a peace treaty which says that these guys can't attack Sardinia, and Sardinia will also be added into the Diamond Alliance, so yeah, they definitely can't attack them anymore. But we're going to leave this alone for now and go down to Egypt, because I just said that they were going through something, and that was right. As the Egyptian dictator has just passed away, this is the guy who helped Egypt, obviously, have the communist regime in the first place. And he's unfortunately passed away. However, someone else has just come in power, and that is his son. His son is 10 times worse than the former Egyptian leader. He has been indoctrinated in this whole thing by mainly his uncle. His uncle was a much more kind of not proud, but more, well, radical communist than the current leader. And, well, it's played a huge toll on him, and immediately the country is going to start to become, excuse my language, a shithole. as many famines will also occur in this area here. And you may say, oh, it's going to cause revolution. No, it's not. Egypt is, well, actually, I haven't used a stability map in a long time. It's pretty, I don't even, actually, I deleted the stability, I think I deleted most of the maps. That's bad. We still have the water layer at least, but, I mean, it's kind of out of date. I haven't updated anything. Oh, God. But anyway, that's besides the point. As now this guy's son has come into power, Egypt is going to start to suffer, well, with a lot of things, but I mean, they're doing fine. In the more like populated areas along the Nile and stuff, yeah, that's fine, but maybe in these areas over here and obviously Sahara, well, it's not good, and millions of people are going to try and leave the country. Many aren't successful, but I mean, I guess the route they probably take would be going through Arabia like this, trying to get through Anatolia, although I don't know if that's a good idea, so they probably end up going around, they probably end up going around the Caucasus somehow and then get through Ukraine, and they're going to basically head over to Western Europe in countries such as, well, they wouldn't go through the Dark Union now, maybe countries such as Italy, Spain, obviously, there's this country here, there's Galicia, Ireland, their countries, yeah, but a lot of these countries, Albania as well, that's a big hotspot, are going to start to receive quite bad migrant crisis. And yeah, well, we're going to move over to the AEU now, as some events are going to happen, such as the continued expansion of the nuclear cloud, where we're going to basically be updating on what's happened in the last few years, because it's been a few years since this went off. So the radiation is going to continue, it's going to start to go south now, and it's going to brush past all these regions of China, and yeah, China is going to have a lot of radiation in their country like this. Shandong, however, they've been able to sort of kick the radiation back, but they're not helping out China because they're selfish, and the radiation is going to leave regular mainland China as well. And it's also going to start to go over to Taiwan, which is, well, that's not good. It's also going to go down to Hainan Island as well, and just take over all of that. And it's even going to start to spread towards Vietnam. And now China's Pacific access, just like that, has been completely cut off. And the famine in this country is getting a lot worse than it was, well, than it's ever been. And the radiation is going to start to just, well, yeah, wow, not good. And China, there's a lot of different political parties in it, but it's just not good at the minute. And as you can see, well, oof, yeah. And the leadership in China is in a hole right now. And basically what's going to happen is we come to the ideology layer, and the current Chinese leader is going to get assassinated. Yeah, it gets that bad, and what's going to happen is a political rival is going to get in power, and martial law will be declared, which will lead to an outburst in the Chinese population, which we'll see what that effect is now. As one, the Chinese are going to be suspended from the EU. We also have a civil war starting, so yeah. As down here in the south we have a new democratic Chinese front, I guess, being established. These guys want a democratic China, which there isn't at the minute, and, well, you can pretty much guess what this is. It's a Chinese reformist, you could say. And then in the north we have a prevalent ideology that has been in Africa in these last few episodes, as a communist Chinese force will start up here in this northern region. And then over here we have a different sort of Chinese force, and this is going to be the zombies. Just kidding, it's a it's the more rural areas of China trying to like join this whole thing. So we'll see how this advances in the next few episodes, and I think we should just take a quick look at this now, because I mean, why not? First off, all of Henan is given over to the Lang Chinese. This is a very easy move for them to do, as they are definitely the strongest Chinese rebellion, and they are even recognised as the one that the AU wants to win the most, as they will take over a lot of this land just like this. They start to get close to the Chinese capital. Whilst over here the Chinese, or I guess the OG Chinese government, is able to slightly push back against this country, or this rebellion, and will start heavy invasions inside of them, but how well will that go, we don't know. They also push back against the communist part over here. Well, that's probably the only stuff they'll be able to do against the communists, as the rebellion will start to advance into their territory up here in the north. And also same thing with the democracies, as they'll actually try and make a connection over with this country here, which they're not really sending forces in, but they'll be able to do something like this. And actually AEU peacekeeping forces will be sent into China to try and de-escalate the situation, but the situation's been escalated. And this is happening around the year 2000, but the radiation has actually started to go down by this point, and I'll show you like the kind of effects of where it's going down. It's started to go down a lot in this region, which is why we start seeing this really heavily populated area. The capital is also kind of liberated from it. Also, this region here is probably still the most radiated, but they can. That's probably why they're breaking away, to be honest. And yeah, a lot of China is very hard to fight in. This is really the only real populated areas. The rest of this is very radiated. And Taiwan is probably one of the most radiated places here. So what we're going to see is actually just a complete Taiwanese declaration of independence. And yeah, Taiwan is officially independent, as they'll now become their own country, with the capital being right there. And we'll move on to see what happens to this in the next few episodes. But for now, we'll move over to Europe, as some stuff is happening. Obviously, well, I actually turn the capitals there off, but obviously, like I said earlier, the Egyptians have a new kind of weird government. Well, it's still communism, obviously, but the guy who runs it is terrible. And lots of migrants are going to start coming up over to Europe through, or maybe they'll try and go through Africa. But I'd say probably the most, well, best route. The best route would probably be trying to go through Sinai, then going, or trying to pass the Caucasus Mountains, which would be hard. Then they probably go through Ukraine, down through Romania probably not, but definitely through Hungary, and maybe in Albania, and then they could probably, well, just go around here and do something like this. Italy is also a very big hotspot for these guys, but Spain has, well, like I said, they are a pretty, like, left-wing government. I don't think I said that before, but they do. What's going to happen is a lot of people are actually going to go to this country here, and this passage here, they're not able to pass through the Dark Red Union because, well, taking a look at the ideology layer, I'm not sure the Dark Red Union wants many people coming into their country that's not their own people. Like, obviously, they're not fascist like Neo-Persia was, genocide and stuff. They're not doing genocide, they're just a dictatorship. So what instead they're going to try and do is pass through boats to get down to Catalonia, where they can then officially pass into Spain. And the Spanish government is also kind of similar to China, in a bit of reconcile with this, and a lot of kind of far-right parties are going to start to emerge inside of this country. And I'll let you guys decide what your opinion is on this, but, well, it's happening. And it's similar over here in, what country? The Canadian Union, I don't know why I forgot that. But people are coming up through California and going into this country. California, unlike real life, is a very poor kind of area. You can kind of relate it to how Mexico is in our timeline, where it's, well, it's pretty poor, unfortunately, and a lot of people are going, obviously, trying to get up to the US. And yeah, well, that's happening. Anyway, I think this is an really appropriate point to end off today's video, but there's one more event we've got to talk about. And as that the current year is now officially, I'd say, probably 2003-ish. And the technology is around the year 2019, maybe 2020-ish. That's when the technology is, or at least where it's around. But over here in India, well, some bad stuff is going to happen. India is a huge kind of economic powerhouse in the world, at least in the kind of more populated areas, which is like around the coast more, and like this is like where all the population lives in India. Probably about 90% of the population live in like this sort of area, like this, and the rest, I mean, there are cities here, but they're only cities in name, they're not huge. But unfortunately, in one of the more, I guess you could say, rural areas over here, this hygiene isn't like a big practice thing. And what's going to happen is, like kind of like in China, but more to do with China and the Civil War. India imports a lot of food from China, so China makes a lot of food, grain, like rice, all that stuff. And I don't know if they make, I don't know what happens in China, to be honest. But let's just say they make a lot of food, and this area down here in India is affected by the famine, and they're going to have to start to tap into different types of animals, such as, you know, bats, mice, rice. I rhymed, I don't know why I said that. But these sort of, I guess, animals will start to be eaten by this population over here, and one of these animals is going to cause a very bad virus. They're going to be carrying some pretty bad bacteria, which is going to cause viruses to start. And the guy who starts this virus, his name's going to be Quandavius, and what's going to happen is some bad thing. Quandavius is going to spread it to the rest of his family, and his family's planning a trip to Bangladesh, because the AEU works similar to the EU in real life, where you're allowed to kind of just cross the border with your passport. So they go to this city right here in Bangladesh, and they spread it to a lot of people in here, and all of Asia, or at least this whole region of Asia at the minute, all of Asia is affected with the this virus. And all of Asia spreads to all of Afro-Eurasia, and it's also going to start happening in Egypt as well, which is going to push a lot of people out of there. But there's going to be a huge pandemic, and you'll never guess what this is called. It's probably going to be called something around the lines of the Indian flu or something, maybe something like that. I'm not going to bore you with the name of the symptoms. You guys can make some symptoms in the comments, like make a whole list of them. I'm not going to bore you with that information. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one. I hope you have a wonderful day. And yeah, bye bye. I'll see you in the next one.